Study in anthropology is just the study of humanity or human civilization, or even just the design of human development. But how that's helped in the sense that somebody's taking the time to be able to classify certain things like what a religion is based on, what a civilization is based on, what a rites of passage is, what a mythology is, and then how a religious belief is constructed based on those things. That helps to a certain degree. But when we're trying to discern like what the formation of, or what determines how a thought comes into play, because anything is still based on a seed concept and an idea. So off the top, you're trying to say that any civilization or any religion is still based upon that principle. And so when we say that these are answers of light, we're saying that these are principles of light. And the terminology of what the word God, or what they've used as translations to place in biblical, scripture or anything like that, even the word being a German term, used as a means to be able to explain, as a term used to be placed on something that's unexplained. You know what I'm saying? But you have no explanation for it. When the original writings give explanation to their initial intention. So then what we're trying to say is, we talk about the writings of light, we're trying to find an origin to understand and define the original intention of the writings as a means to being able to align yourself to that intention. Because if not, then you can kind of fool yourself as far as you thinking that you're abiding by some law or some structural design because of your interpretation of that, and then it becomes, in a sense, it's almost deceiving or delusional, because of if your interpretation is lacking, then that means your alignment and your fulfillment of the deed is lacking. There's no way to really fulfill or carry out an objective if you actually don't comprehend what the command is. So when we're trying to discern what the intention of the light, we're talking about even the term Elohim. It's a frightening, like when you go into the origin or the etymology of words, and etymology just as a means of being able to discern the word at its original point and how it was used in earlier civilizations. But even more in-depthly when you go into an oracular beginning of a term. And that means that it requires that you define self, or you go into a self-discipline of coming through different stages of consciousness and awareness to be able to find or come to a point of being able to really comprehend the operation of light or light activity. So that's even more in depth than etymology, because the etymology is still subject to the opinion of the state of consciousness that the person was in when they defined the term. Now, if you've come to a point where you figure that you are gifted, or you have a closer relationship to light itself, or to the deity itself, then that you have means of accessing a greater definition than the ones before you or prior to you, then this is what is considered to be an oracular definition. Like how somebody in high school with the term love, and they say, well, I define love in this manner. And you had a certain affection or a certain feeling and a certain association at that point in your life. But as you grew, and then you started to develop more awareness, or you matured in a certain way, then you start to redefine that definition according to what is considered to be an oracular definition based on consciousness. When we say consciousness, your means of distinguishment, your means of definition, your means of discernment, your means of being able to appropriate a thought according to objective. And because you have more experiences to make these as a means of reference, to make these decisions, and to use as a means of being able to make an assessment by, then now at that point your definition consists of more than what it did prior to that. So what I'm saying is that the concepts of God, when we say that, like say for instance, even in when they have monotheistic approaches, where there's one deity. But like I said, in a lot of concepts prior to the monotheistic approach, and like you say, that the definition consisted of a polytheistic in the sense that they knew that the essence or the spirit existed within all things, and that every expression was just a manifestation of that one essence. So would that make that one essence a polytheistic thing, or is this a unified concept that has a way of displaying itself in many different formations? So if that's the case, does it make it monotheistic or polytheistic? And some people can say it's both. You can say that unity or one consists of the unified factor.
And you mentioned the word Elohim.
Right. So that word Elohim is just, it's a plural word in itself. So then a lot of times that would frighten people in the sense that they're trying to maintain a monotheistic point of view. They're trying to maintain that everything is one. But even when they consider themselves as being an individual, they're a composition of many parts themselves, with organs and cells, and at an anatomical level, that they consist of many parts themselves and operations at once, but with the common objective. So when you say one, you're still talking about a unit. The word achad in the Hebrew. Unit. And anytime there's a unit, there's more than one part operating at once. A lot of times, we say that some people have kind of taken a traditional thought without actually understanding how that thought developed into what it was. So we would figure that the better way to approach these as a study guide or a study tool is to try to approach something from its original point. To try to approach it from its base point. And what we've come to understand is that light is the base point of all things, regardless of the expression itself. But the term Elohim is a term that means light principles. So you'll say that any belief system is still based on a principle. It's concepts being brought together to set some type of parameter or either measurement on how one should conduct themselves as an individual or even in a societal structure. It's designed to show, like when we talk about laws and statutes and commandments, you're talking about coexistence. You're talking about a means of being able to set some type of system of thought to allow coexistence, where space can be given to each individual to be able to develop to their full capacity. So when we talk about light principle, we're saying that there's already a light law designed outside of the ignorances or unconsciousness of man or unconsciousness of certain individuals who haven't come to the fullness of what that is. And for a person to speak so adamantly or so absolutely as if they've come to the epitome of what the utopian type of concept is, to be able to design a system that is perfect. They haven't come to that if you haven't come to the light principle itself. Now they don't get into measurements, they don't get into numbers, they don't get into light, they don't get into sound frequency and all those different things that maybe people felt like, okay, that's unnecessary. But if you're going to get to the point of how everything, where it emanates from or where it comes from, you're going to have to deal with those concepts. So Elohim, when we talk about light principles, we talk about concepts themselves, and then we talk about different beliefs. Say that you use Buddhism as an example. Now what seems that Buddhism doesn't use a deity per se, like how other belief systems, when they've constructed a God according to their perception. Like when you talk to a person, you ask them a question about, okay, what is your God or who is your God? A lot of times they have a visual aid in their mind that they're reflecting on or that they're referencing at the time that you're asking that. And this visual aid has been kind of imposed in the consciousness and on how they relate to what the God is. But we're saying that light principles actually come before any formation of what it is that they're kind of, this image that they're carrying in their mind. That this is primordial. Meaning that they use all these different, terminology, but in the sense that you're gonna